For the past 1,500 years, humans have been proving their wits to one another with the simple game chess. Over time, chess has pretty much remained the same, which may prompt you to think, hey, maybe it's a perfect game and doesn't need any changing. And you know what I say to that? Balagna. There's no such thing as a perfect game. So without further ado, here's how I improved chess in only one weekend. So let's start off by talking about everything wrong with chess. The biggest thing is it's just not fun. Chess relies 100% on your wits, so if you play smarter, you win. It's as simple as that. This fact creates situations where you can really only play against people with similar skill levels to you. Because if they're too good, you just lose all the time, and if they suck, there's just no challenge. This issue also results in scenarios where the only way to beat the best person in the world is to insert suspicious devices into suspicious places on your body. Now, I don't know about you, but winning or losing just a bunch of times in a row is not very fun. And the whole point of games is to, be fun. So my improved version of chess needs to somehow level out the playing field, so the skill gap is less of an issue. Will, you idiot. The whole point of chess is to rely 100% on your wits. That's what makes it a perfect game. Yes, I agree with you partly, but we're gonna get into all that stuff later. Trust me. So for now, let's just chill and be friends, okay? And it's a good thing we're friends now, because I have a little secret to tell you. You may think I love chess so much, and that's why I'm making a video about improving it. But actually, I couldn't give two hoots about it. First of all, I'm just not very good at it. And second, I think it's just boring and could use a little spicing up. Then why are you trying to ruin my favorite game? Well, I may not like chess very much, but I do like game development. I know, shocker. And in the game dev community, there are these things called game jams, where you have one weekend to make a game from scratch that revolves around a specific theme. And it just so happens that on the second weekend of July, Game Maker's Toolkit was hosting their 2023 Game Jam, and I just had to participate in it. The theme for this jam was roles reversed. So this could be something like a city builder, where your goal is to destroy the city, or maybe a tower defense game where you're in charge of the minions. Or maybe even a chess game, where the role of each piece changes. So ladies and gentlemen, that's how the idea for chaotic chess was born. And now, all I have to do is make it, which is much easier said than done. So let's get started. Before we can make chess chaotic, we first need to make chess. To do this, we'll start with the board. This was super easy. All I had to do was make 64 different squares and then put them where they're supposed to be. Next up, we need to make the pieces. For now, each piece is just a little square that has a color representing its piece type. Things will look better later on, but right now I'm just getting the actual game functioning. Once I had all of the pieces in their correct spots, I needed to make them move. Boom, we're getting there, baby. However, there is one small problem right now. The pieces aren't supposed to be able to move like that. So after a bit of coding, the pieces can now only move where they're supposed to. And I also made little green squares pop up so the player can clearly see what moves are and aren't allowed. But Will, you know pawns move 2 spaces on their first move, right? Yes, friend, I actually did know about that one. Because of the nature of how the role reversals will work, I'm actually removing a lot of the special moves of chess. I won't waste time going into a bunch of the details behind it, but just imagine a queen is in the middle of a board acting like a pawn, and it gets en passanted by a random bishop also acting like a pawn. That's not chaotic, that's just confusing. So stuff like that resulted in me making the executive decision to just remove all the whack moves from chess. This includes pawn pushing, en passant, pawn promoting, castling, and checkmate. Checkmate? You can't remove checkmate? Ha! Watch me. The king will be able to be captured like every other piece in the game. And when that happens, the game ends. And just like that, the framework for chaotic chess was done. Well, almost done. I just needed to quickly code in a chess AI. Quickly code in a chess AI? Who does this guy think he is? I'm pretty sure I completely forgot all about this when I was thinking about what I had to do to make this game, but making a chess AI on top of changing all the rules and making it look good and all that other stuff seems pretty impossible to me. So I had my work cut out for myself. Just to make sure I had the absolute basics working, I made the AI start by just playing random moves. Once that was working, it was time to make him smarter. Now, I would have loved to simply enroll him in the school system and wait 12 years because, after all, look how I turned out. But unfortunately, we don't have time for that, and it also doesn't really work like that. So, what do we do then? 2 words. 5 syllables, 11 letters. Minimax, baby. In case you forgot or just haven't watched the video, I used Minimax to create my tic-tac-toe AI a while back. And believe it or not, chess and tic-tac-toe are pretty similar games, with tic-tac-toe just being an incredibly more dumbed-down game designed for children. I'm not gonna go crazy in depth into Minimax, but just know it's a pretty cool algorithm that looks at every possible future and chooses the best outcome. It's basically the Doctor Strange of algorithms. Many hours of coding later, plus a break to, sleep, the AI was working pretty well. There are a couple bugs with it because sometimes I notice it acting pretty stupid, but it's good enough. Now, chess is completely done, and it's time to add some chaos. As I was talking about earlier, the roles each piece has can be reversed. How this will work is at the start of the player's turn, a swap will happen, meaning all pawns will act like bishops, or all rooks will act like knights, or something along the lines of that. The actual pieces don't change, just the way they're allowed to act. The frequency and amount of these swaps are determined by what's called the chaos level. None is just regular chess, and they get increasingly more chaotic up until sheer utter chaos, which is the most fun and ideal way to play the game. The added chaos puts an element into chess that it has never seen before: randomness. This transforms the game into one that was once focused on strategy and careful planning into a game where you need to be ready for anything and be prepared to throw all strategy out the window. The game can also rapidly change who's winning, just based off of one swap, which forces players to stay on their toes. But that's not what chess is all about. Well, maybe it's just about times for things to change. Not all change is good change, though. Whatever you say. A very important and honestly necessary part of changing the rules of chess is communicating these changes to the player. I think the best way of doing it is to create a little mapping off to the side of the board that shows a piece and then makes a little line to connect it to the piece that it's supposed to act like. This wasn't all that bad, but right now all the pieces just go to themselves because that's what they act like. So let's make it a bit more chaotic. I did have to go back and change a bunch of stuff with the AI and just how the pieces work in general, but eventually all of the pieces obey the rules of the piece that they swap to. And the amount and frequency that the swaps happen obey the chaos level that the player selects. Now, believe it or not, the actual functioning part of the game is done, but we are nowhere near finished yet. The GMTK Game Jam rates games off of 3 categories: creativity, enjoyment, and presentation. They all share equal weight in the overall rating of your game, but I argue that one is much more important than the other 2. You may think this would be enjoyment, because games are games. They're supposed to be fun after all. But I would actually say that presentation is the most important. There is one thing I absolutely hate about modern video game culture, and that's the obsession with good graphics. People sometimes will actively not buy a specific game just because the characters don't look realistic. This truth baffles me, and it's especially true for game jams. If your game looks like it was made by a 2-year-old who just figured out how Microsoft Paint works on mommy's computer, red flags are subconsciously raised in your players' brains that your game is lacking polish. This creates a not good first impression, and in a game jam, the games are literally judged off of the first impression only. A bad first impression will make the player think that the game is less enjoyable and less creative than it actually is. Now, with all that said, what is the category that chaotic chess is doing the worst at right now? Presentation. Why? Because look at it. It looks like a clown just threw up on a bunch of squares and decided to call it a game. So you know what that means. Makeover time! The first thing we need is some sprites for the pieces. So I booted up a sprite and got to work. Now, as I'm chugging away with this, I have a little confession to make. Maybe you've seen it, or maybe you haven't, but I spent a whole month learning how pixel art works, and I got pretty decent at it. Now, after that month was over, I did basically no practice with pixel art. So to say I'm rusty is a massive understatement. But anyways, a few hours later, all of the pieces were done, and they turned out a lot better than I was anticipating. It just goes to show, you can take the boy out of the pixel art, but you can't take the pixel art out of the boy. Once all the pieces were in, I changed up the board colors, and it was looking a lot better. The next thing the game desperately needs was a user interface. Now, out of everything I've done for this game, you would not expect the UI to be the most challenging part, but for me, it was. I went through so many iterations, and it all looked terrible, but eventually I was done and created what you see on the screen right now, and there's a lot I like about it. I think it's nice to have everything together on one big sliding screen instead of a bunch of separate menus. Now there's one final thing we need for this game, and that is some good audio. I started off by making sound effects for when the pieces move and when they get captured. And I really like these, but I really don't like the way I did the music. It starts off okay, with a pretty good melody, but then whatever instrument this is shows up, it makes the song super annoying. The one thing I do really like about the music though, is how it speeds up and slows down depending on the chaos level that you select. And it also does this seamlessly. Now, we are finally done and ready to submit. I ended up submitting 2 hours and 4 minutes before the deadline was up, which was good because itch.io likes to crash right at the end of the game jam. The ratings are officially in, and it's time for us to finally answer the question, did I improve chess or make a mess out of a perfect game? Overall, I placed 947th out of 6,835 submissions, putting me in the 86th percentile, which isn't all that bad. I placed 575th for creativity, 654th for enjoyment, and 1,916th place for presentation. I received many comments like the following: I'm awful at chess, but I still found this game really fun to play. If that's not a mark of a great game, then I don't know what is. From Gallo. Now feel free to go down into the comments and read what other people had to say, but a lot of people had fun with the game and enjoyed the added chaos. So, according to Gallo and others, I made a great game. So case closed. I did, in fact, improve chess in a weekend. So we might as well replace chess.com with chaoticchess.com, remove all of the chessboards from circulation, and, well, get rid of all these suspicious devices. Because without chess, they serve no purpose in society anymore. Whoa. To some, you have made the game more fun, but that does not mean you improve the game for everybody. You see, the whole point of chess is to come up with strategies, think ahead, and outsmart your opponent. Sure, chaotic chess may be fun, but you have stripped away the very meaning of chess and rendered it into a mindless shell of a once perfect game. I'm sorry, friend, but just look around you. Chess is not a perfect game. Plenty of people don't like it, so you just cannot call it that. Well, chaotic chess isn't a perfect game. No one said it was. In fact, there is no such thing as a perfect game because everyone likes different things. Exactly. So why are you ruining something that's so important to me? Why does chaotic chess need to succeed chess? Can they not coexist? Oh, you're right. I never saw it like that. Chaotic chess is not chess. Sure, the pieces move in the same way and it's roughly the same concept, but the entire meaning of the game is different. Having chaotic chess replace chess is just stupid because it removes a big aspect of the game that a lot of people love. But on the contrary, I can't just delete chaotic chess because it will deprive many of a new, fun, and less mentally taxing version of the original. Thank you for finally understanding. I just have one more thing to say to you. What's that? Checkmate. Thank you guys so much for watching. I gotta go clean this mess up. But you guys should go watch something else. Will recently coded an AI that works just like a human brain. It's a pretty good video. You should watch that right here. Also, make sure you subscribe, and there will be a link for Chaotic Chess in the description if you wanted to bother trying that out. But thanks again. See you soon.